Hey everyone, Catelyn Moore here. And I need you to stop whatever you're doing right now because what I'm about to reveal should terrify every American taxpayer watching this video. Right at this moment, there's a corporate crisis unfolding that the national media is deliberately downplaying. And the consequences of what's happening are about to devastate job markets, crush state economies, and prove that decades of failed political leadership finally caught up with one of America's largest states. Imagine this scenario. Inside the governor's office in Springfield, Illinois, emergency meetings are happening behind closed doors. Political consultants are scrambling to control the narrative. Business leaders throughout Chicago are quietly asking the same terrifying question: are we next? The panic is real. The fear is justified. Because something catastrophic just occurred that exposes everything wrong with how certain states are run. Boeing, one of America's most legendary aerospace manufacturers, a Fortune 50 corporation, a company that literally defined American aviation for over a century, just announced they're completely abandoning Chicago after 2 decades of headquartering there. They're not reducing operations or restructuring their presence. They're packing up their entire corporate headquarters and relocating to Arlington, Virginia. Gone. Now I know what you're thinking. Companies relocate all the time. Why should this matter to me if I don't live in Illinois? And that's exactly the reaction politicians are hoping you have. But stay with me for the next several minutes, because this story reveals something much bigger than one company leaving one city. This is about the systematic destruction of state economies through terrible governance and the desperate attempts by failed leadership to hide what they've caused. So make sure you hit that subscribe button for Catelyn Moore, because by the end of this investigation, you'll understand exactly how political incompetence drives businesses away, why your state could be next, and what happens when governments treat corporations like unlimited ATM machines. Let's get into it. Let's travel back to 2001, because understanding how Illinois won Boeing's headquarters originally makes their departure now even more devastating. 24 years ago, Boeing executives were searching for a new corporate home following their merger with McDonnell Douglas. Cities across America competed desperately for this prize. Dallas launched aggressive campaigns. Denver offered massive incentive packages. But Chicago won. And at the time, Illinois politicians celebrated this victory like they'd landed the corporate equivalent of the Olympics. Boeing didn't just rent office space, they claimed a symbolic throne in America's third-largest city. The company established operations in a prominent high-rise building on Chicago's near West Side, and suddenly, Illinois possessed something that seemed invaluable: global prestige, economic validation, proof that Chicago could compete with New York, Los Angeles, or any international business hub for corporate headquarters. Politicians from both parties rushed to take credit. Business organizations called Boeing's arrival confirmation that Chicago remained a world-class city for major corporations. Economic development officials used Boeing's presence as recruitment material when pitching other companies on Illinois locations. But here's what most people don't understand about corporate headquarters. They represent far more than just office buildings, or even the jobs they directly provide, though we'll examine those devastating employment numbers shortly. Headquarters symbolize confidence. When a Fortune 50 company plants its flag in your city, it broadcasts a powerful message to every other corporation, every talented professional considering where to build their career, every investor evaluating opportunities. This is where serious business happens. This is where we see our future. For 2 decades, they've served dozens of Boeing employees purchasing coffee before heading to their offices. That's not merely revenue. That's consistent, reliable, predictable income they budgeted their entire operations around. That revenue stream just evaporated. Now multiply that single coffee shop across hundreds of Chicago businesses. The office supply company that serviced Boeing's headquarters needs. The catering operation that handled corporate events and meetings. The dry cleaning service that offered corporate account programs. The parking garage that sold monthly passes to Boeing employees. Every single one of these businesses just lost a major client. And here's what makes the situation even worse. They're all experiencing this loss simultaneously, which means they're all reducing costs, cutting staff, or closing locations at the exact same time. Commercial real estate suffers another devastating blow. Boeing's vacated headquarters space adds to Chicago's already troubling office vacancy rates. Rates that were already elevated because of pandemic-era remote work trends that never fully reversed. Additional vacant office space means declining property values. Lower property values translate directly into reduced tax revenue for the city and state. But here's what terrifies Illinois economic development officials even more than job losses or tax revenue decline: the perception shift. Right now, there are dozens of major corporations quietly evaluating whether to maintain, expand, or relocate their Illinois operations. Every single one of those companies just watched Boeing, a Fortune 50 giant with deep Illinois roots and massive state investments, choose Virginia instead. Why does this matter if you don't live in Illinois? Because this identical pattern is repeating across America. Companies are voting with their headquarters decisions, and they're sending unmistakable messages about which states offer competitive business environments and which states are systematically losing the economic war for jobs, investment, and prosperity. When corporate site selection consultants, the specialized firms that major companies hire to evaluate potential headquarters locations, now conduct Illinois analyses, Boeing's departure appears in every evaluation report. It becomes data, becomes evidence, becomes a case study in why Illinois might represent a poor choice for corporate headquarters. Now let's examine Boeing's official reasoning compared to the complete story that corporate executives discuss privately, but rarely state publicly for political reasons. Yes, Arlington, Virginia sits minutes from Pentagon headquarters. Yes, face-to-face access to military procurement officials matters tremendously when competing for multi-billion-dollar defense contracts. Yes, having the ability to drive to meetings with senators on defense appropriations committees provides competitive advantages that Chicago's geographic location simply cannot match. Defense contracts drive Boeing's entire business model. We're discussing competitions for military aircraft orders worth $50 billion, satellite systems contracts valued in tens of billions, advanced weapons platforms representing generations of future revenue. When your competitors headquartered on the East Coast can schedule same-day meetings while your executives are booking flights and hotels for two-day Washington trips, that matters strategically and financially. But geography tells only part of this story. Boeing's leadership also conducted comprehensive analyses of Illinois' business climate, tax structure, regulatory environment, workforce costs, and long-term fiscal stability. And here's what should absolutely terrify every Illinois resident. Boeing isn't the first major corporation to abandon Illinois. They're not even the second or third. They're joining a rapidly accelerating list of major corporations that recently fled Illinois headquarters. Let me walk you through this pattern, because once you see it clearly, you cannot unsee it. Caterpillar, the heavy equipment manufacturer that was an Illinois institution for nearly a century, relocated from Peoria to Texas. Gone. Citadel, Ken Griffin's massive hedge fund managing billions in assets, moved from Chicago to Miami. And Griffin didn't quietly slip away. He explicitly, publicly blamed Illinois' crime rates, tax policies, and governance failures when announcing his departure. He essentially wrote a detailed breakup letter to Illinois and published it for the entire business world to read. Each corporate exodus follows eerily similar patterns. Company leadership grows increasingly frustrated with Illinois' tax burden. They question whether state government can address fundamental governance challenges: pension obligations consuming budgets, chronic fiscal deficits, persistent political dysfunction. They evaluate alternative locations and discover states offering significantly lower taxes, superior business climates, and governments that actually partner with businesses instead of treating them as unlimited revenue sources. So what exactly are these competitor states providing that makes major corporations abandon decades of Illinois presence? Let's break down the competitive advantages that Illinois keeps losing to. Texas offers zero state income tax, not reduced tax rates, literally zero, combined with substantially lower cost of living. A $150,000 salary in Chicago translates to approximately $110,000 in Austin or Houston when adjusted for purchasing power differences. meaning employees actually improve their financial position even with lower nominal salaries. Florida provides similar tax advantages plus year-round warm weather, which matters more than policymakers want to acknowledge when recruiting talented professionals. Virginia combines reasonable taxation with something Boeing specifically values: proximity to federal government centers controlling defense spending and procurement decisions. But here's what really matters in these competitive battles. These states don't passively wait for companies to approach them. Economic development officials in Texas, Florida, and Virginia actively hunt Illinois-based firms, offering customized incentive packages, streamlined regulatory permitting, and dedicated support teams designed to make relocation as smooth as possible. Illinois increasingly loses these competitions because while it maintains genuine advantages, world-class universities, diverse economy, excellent infrastructure, the state's systemic problems create disadvantages that other states aggressively exploit. Behind every corporate relocation statistic exist real people facing impossible choices that will fundamentally reshape their lives. Let me tell you about Jennifer, not her actual name, but her story is completely real and represents hundreds of Boeing employees. Jennifer worked in Boeing's Chicago Corporate Communications Department for 12 years. She built professional relationships, earned multiple promotions, invested deeply in her career trajectory. She owns a home in a Chicago suburb. Her children attend established local schools. Her elderly parents live 20 minutes away and depend on her support for medical appointments and daily assistance needs. Boeing now presents her with an ultimatum: relocate to Arlington, Virginia, or find new employment. On paper, relocation sounds straightforward. In reality, Jennifer's spouse maintains an established career in Chicago. Her teenage children are thriving in their current high school environment. Her elderly mother just recovered from major surgery and needs ongoing support. Selling a Chicago home in a soft real estate market, purchasing an expensive Arlington where housing costs run 30 to 40% higher, uprooting teenagers during critical high school years, abandoning elderly parents who need daily assistance. The costs extend far beyond salary adjustments and moving expenses. Many employees like Jennifer choose to stay, accepting severance packages and searching for comparable positions in an increasingly competitive market. The neighborhood businesses lose regular customers. Local establishments lose loyal patrons. Communities lose engaged residents. Here's what Boeing's departure truly signals to anyone paying attention. Illinois faces a fundamental choice about its economic future. The state maintains genuine assets, incredible infrastructure built over generations, world-class universities producing talented graduates, diverse industries, rich cultural institutions. But systemic problems including crushing pension obligations, chronic political dysfunction, and tax burdens exceeding competitor states create disadvantages that other states aggressively exploit through targeted business recruitment. The question isn't whether additional companies will leave Illinois. They will. The real question is whether Illinois leadership finally acknowledges this crisis with sufficient urgency and implements genuine reforms before the corporate exodus becomes completely irreversible. Boeing's departure isn't merely a business news story. It's a warning signal about governance failure and economic decline. Whether Illinois heeds that warning determines whether the state stabilizes its economy or continues accelerating toward fiscal catastrophe. But here's why this matters far beyond Illinois borders. This same economic battle is happening in states throughout America. Corporate relocations reshape entire communities, devastate workers' lives, and determine which states thrive and which states decline in 21st-century economic competition. The states winning these battles offer competitive tax structures, functional governance, and genuine partnerships with businesses. The states losing these battles, Illinois prominent among them, treat corporations as unlimited revenue sources while providing deteriorating services, mounting fiscal crises, and hostile business environments. So here's what I need from you. Drop a comment below and tell me if you've witnessed this pattern in your state. Are major employers leaving? Are businesses relocating to more competitive states? Have you or people you know faced these impossible relocation decisions? Share your experiences because documenting this nationwide pattern is how we force accountability. If this investigation revealed the real story behind corporate relocations that politicians don't want you understanding, hit that like button and share this video with everyone you know. Americans deserve to understand how governance failures drive businesses away and destroy state economies. Make sure you're subscribed to Catelyn Moore and hit that notification bell, because I'm going to keep investigating government failures, corporate accountability, and the economic disasters that terrible leadership creates. This is the investigative journalism that protects your economic future. This is Catelyn Moore. Thank you for watching. Remember that states compete for businesses and jobs every single day. The states with the best governance win. The states with the worst governance lose everything. Stay informed, demand accountability, and I'll see you in the next investigation.